The first Nintendo Direct for the Nintendo Switch is just around the corner, bringing the first wave of new games, updates, and features of the console. In this video, we'll predict what's coming based on rumors, leaks, and our own experience. Let's dive in. The Nintendo Switch 2 is compatible with Nintendo Switch 1 games, although it hasn't been specified how. Rumors claim that some games would have enhanced features to take advantage of the console's extra power. Specifically, there was talk of a demo of Breath of the Wild with hardly any load times and improved resolution and performance. We believe this is completely real, although we're not sure if players will have to pay extra to access these particular enhancements in classic Nintendo Switch games. If there's one recurring franchise we haven't seen on the Nintendo Switch for a while, it's Kirby. There have been rumors that the only Wii U game not brought to the Switch, Kirby and the Rainbow Paintbrush, might have a second life in the future, perhaps taking advantage of the new console's mouse mode. Meanwhile, Nintendo 3DS's Planet Robobot would soon be coming to the Switch 1, although it would miss the presentation because it isn't as eye-catching as the other Switch 2 games. Nintendo played its card too early with the first reveal of Mario Kart 9, the new installment in the series that was presented alongside the first look at the Nintendo Switch 2 hardware. This means they have a tougher challenge to impress viewers with their second showcase. If there's one thing we learned from the presentations of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom or Super Mario Odyssey, it's that Nintendo always has an ace up its sleeve for these situations. We believe that Mario Kart 9 might not be as visually impressive, but it will have something that makes it very different from previous installments and that wasn't shown in its first gameplay. The C button on the Nintendo Switch 2 is quite the mystery, or well, maybe not so much. Data mining of the Switch's operating system, along with some leaked documents, references something known as Campus. This would be a kind of social hub that would allow group voice calls or participation in group chats of up to 12 Switch users online with the option to share your screen. Other possibilities for the C button's function include special screenshots, connecting with other Switch 2 consoles, or even a shortcut to turning the microphone on or off. The launch of a new Nintendo console is the perfect time to experiment. The Wii was released alongside Wii Sports, the Wii U with Nintendo Land, and the Switch with 1-2 Switch. Each of these games serve to showcase and exploit the new capabilities of their respective consoles. Nintendo Switch 2 would also launch with a game with this purpose, to demonstrate what's different and to take advantage of both the new capabilities and those inherited from the Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Switch Online will continue on the Nintendo Switch 2. The company has already confirmed that the service will be available on its new hardware, although they didn't specify how. It is entirely expected that retro game services, which can currently be used on the Nintendo Switch, will also be available on the Nintendo Switch 2. The latest patent records indicate that the Nintendo Switch 2 will be compatible with a retro GameCube controller, which would translate into a game service featuring the GameCube as its main attraction. We expect it to be exclusive both to the new console and to the Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pack service. There's something that's been bugging us about Nintendo for a while. 5 years ago, there were rumors that the Super Mario Odyssey team was working on a Donkey Kong game. During this time, the ape has received an official redesign that has been seen in conceptual art, in the Super Mario movie, and even the new Mario Kart for Nintendo Switch 2. This, along with the new themed areas of Super Mario World based on Donkey Kong Country, makes us think that the Nintendo Switch 2 presentation could be the perfect place to unveil the new Donkey Kong game made by the creators of Super Mario Odyssey. The team's experience with 3D platformers might suggest that the ape would return to the style of Donkey Kong 64, a rumor first launched by YouTuber Lonely Goomba and seconded by relatively unreliable insider Zippo. The Super Mario Day passed almost without fanfare, with only the announcement of a giant Lego Mario Kart and the Super Mario Bros. Alarmo theme. Nintendo couldn't reveal all the secrets of the plumber's 40th anniversary without breaking the secret of the Switch 2, so we expect to see at least one new game that complements the Mario Kart bombshell in 2025. Some remake or remaster of old Super Mario games, such as New Super Mario Bros. Wii or Super Mario Galaxy 2, is in the air, since these are the only modern Mario games that currently can't be played on the Switch. We all know perfectly well what the Nintendo Switch 2 looks like on the outside, but we know very little about what's on the inside. Nintendo is not usually very precise with the technical specifications of its consoles, but we believe that this time they should be a bit clearer about the capabilities of the Nintendo Switch 2. We completely rule out that the screen is OLED due to the high production costs. However, we don't rule out that it could be an LCD screen with special features. The same person who talked about the campus functionality stated that the console would have a 120Hz screen, which would also have HDR and VRR to avoid visual issues. We believe this information, and Nintendo should highlight it to demonstrate what their new console is capable of. The main body of the Nintendo Switch 2 has two USB-C ports. The Switch 1 only had one on the bottom, which was used to charge the console or connect certain accessories, such as headsets or microphones. The inclusion of an additional USB-C port on the top seems intended for connecting extra accessories that boost the console's capabilities. This happens with smartphones and keyboards, but microphones or cameras could also be connected. There were rumors that the console might be flippable, although we really doubt its practical usefulness. Nintendo's most anticipated game could have a slot in the Nintendo Switch 2 presentation. Zelda Twilight Princess and Breath of the Wild arrived on both the current console and the next one. Metroid Prime 4 might have two versions that exploit the extra power of the Nintendo Switch 2 without leaving Nintendo Switch 1 players behind. For now, nothing has been seen that makes Metroid Prime 4 very different from the three previous installments. Following the rule we mentioned earlier about games like Super Mario Odyssey, we expect to see that wow effect from this new Metroid game that Retro Studios has been working on for so many years. Nintendo released a demo version of a secret game available only to some Nintendo Switch Online subscribers. We have nicknamed it the Monkey Game, but is popularly known as the Nintendo Switch Online Playtest Program, and it appears that some of the creators of Nintendo Labo, Animal Crossing, and Splatoon are working on it. This software has neither been presented nor officially announced, and given its social-oriented content, as well as rumors that it has a certain Minecraft-like style, it seems to be a free game for Nintendo Switch Online subscribers. Additionally, the game's monetization would be based on micropayments. Free, but not entirely. Masahiro Sakurai, the creator of Super Smash Bros., ended the last video on his YouTube channel saying that he had to return to game development for a project that required him. That happened in 2023, and since then, nothing has been heard about this mysterious project. If we take a look at Sakurai's history, almost all his work has been on the Super Smash Bros. Series. But since we don't expect a new installment soon, we believe that Kid Icarus might be revived on the Nintendo Switch 2, perhaps with a version of Uprising that came to the Nintendo 3DS and makes use of the optical mouse on the Nintendo Switch 2 controllers. A perfect solution to the control issues that have spanned 2 generations. The bad news comes with the cancellations. Not everything can be a new release. There are 3 sagas from which we do not expect any news given their recent installments. Zelda would need a bit more time to present its new video game. With Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild featuring updates on the Switch 2, we don't believe that Nintendo would rush a game as powerful as Zelda. Splatoon 3 ended 2024 with a colossal final fest, and we believe that the 4th installment will wait until 2026. Perhaps with a small push in the form of an update to continue playing Splatoon 3 on the Nintendo Switch 2. Lastly, Xenoblade Chronicles has just received the remaster of Xenoblade Chronicles X. With the Switch being the console where all installments of the series are available, Monolith deserves a break, and we don't expect a new game at the Switch 2 presentation. The last major rumored game that hasn't been announced so far is Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. A remake of the GameCube game starring like that would have a second life on the Nintendo Switch, and perhaps also on the Switch 2. It's been a long time since we had a new installment in the Fire Emblem series, so we don't rule out that something about it might be shown at the Nintendo Switch 2 presentation. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything about the Nintendo Switch 2 lineup reveal, and don't forget to check out the channel's latest videos. Thanks for watching, and see you next time!